So you think your vote counts? Listen to this former Democratic congressman reveal how things really go down on Election Day, especially when your town is run by a Democratic Party machine.
Most voter fraud doesn't happen on Election Day. Very few folks going to walk into a polling place and claim they're somebody they're not. It happens with the absentee ballots, and in counties in my old congressional district, sometimes 50% of the vote cast in Democratic primaries were absentee ballots.
Joining me now is Michelle Fields of the Daily Caller, which interviewed that former congressman. Michelle, thanks for joining us. We read the story and we said we have to bring this out and follow the money. This is outrageous. So what did the Daily Caller find with this gentleman? What's going on? Tell us about the absentee ballots and how is voter fraud actually being perpetrated?
So the former congressman told us that voter fraud doesn't happen on Election Day. It happens through absentee ballots where individuals don't need to show an ID. So him and many other people are now saying that individuals need to have an ID in order to vote. It's a central part of any voting system. So allowing people to vote without an ID just leads to more fraud and less confidence in the electoral results.
Sure. And Michelle, now isn't there a push to remove the necessity for an ID to vote now? I think a lot of liberals on the left are saying you shouldn't have to have an ID to vote.
Yeah, exactly. But liberals say that they're for accountability, for transparency. Well, voting is such a central component to our political process. Why not have accountability and transparency in our voting process? If you listen to the congressman, he says that if you look at Alabama, at their Democratic primaries, over 50% of the voters are absentee votes. Whereas if you look at other parts of the country, less than 1% is absentee votes. So he's saying that this isn't just like some organic thing that's occurring. This is a deliberate strategy by Democrats in the South.
And actually happening in a lot of places. By the way, that congressman, his former congressman, I'm sorry, is not only just he spoke at the Democratic convention in 2008, the one that put Barack Obama up for president. Take a listen, guys. Let's listen to another soundbite from that congressman. Let's go to Z2, Davis on voter fraud.
The most aggressive practitioners of voter fraud are local machines who are tied lock, stock, and barrel to the special interests in their community, the landfills, the casino operators, and they're cooking the boxes on Election Day.
You know, I mean, we think it's happening. We wonder if it's happening. Here's a gentleman who says, you know what, I'm done running for any sort of office. Guess what, guys? It's happening.
Yeah, he's saying that he wants to implement anti-fraud laws in order to protect African Americans from political leaders within the Democratic Party in the South. He's basically saying that they're stealing the elections out there.
Right, and one more soundbite very quickly. I'm sorry, guys. Go to Z3, guys. This is another one. We wanted to stay on it. Take a listen.
They're manufacturing absentee ballot. They're voting people named Donald Duck because they want to control politics and thwart progress.
So they're manufacturing the ballots. They're filling them in, and apparently no one's checking them. Michelle?
Exactly, and there's no way to trace these things.
Right.
Once the absentee ballot has been processed, it's thrown in with the other secret ballots, and there's no way to trace it.
All right, Michelle Fields, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring in tonight's all-star panel. Former DNC Deputy Finance Director David Mercer, radio show host Lars Larson, and former campaign manager Tony Saig. David, I'm going to go right to you. Again, a Democrat calling out Dems. It just seems to be a common theme here.
I don't know about a common theme. I only heard one person, and that was the congressman. But nonetheless,
well, you should watch Follow the Money a little more because we bring it out quite often.
Well, and what we should be also focused on, and you might want to talk about some of the ballot initiatives that are requiring voter IDs for nearly what will affect 5 million voters and keep them from possibly in the voting booth. And the purpose for that is...
Let's talk about that. 5 million legal voters?
5 million legal voters
sure?
that have.
Because I'm not sure what. I mean, I don't know anything.
Did you ask me the question? Let me answer the question.
I want to know why you shouldn't require an ID to vote.
I didn't say, first of all, I didn't say that I'm for requiring or not requiring. What I am saying is that all of a sudden you have all these initiatives put forth by the GOP and governors in their states, one of which just got rejected in the elections in the beginning of November in Maine. And the real purpose is 9 million reasons why they're doing that. And that's because there were 9 million votes more that Obama got versus McCain. And they want to suppress that vote and affect the young voter to African American, Hispanic voters, and the elderly by requiring and changing the rules of the game to instead of providing their utility bill or retiring their signature, they're being required to voter ID.
Or Lars, maybe they're looking for some illegals to vote. Is that possibly out there?
Hey,
could that possibly happen?
Identify a situation where that's occurred. Identify it.
Hold up.
David,
I'll tell you what. I'll identify it. Eric.
Please.
Out here in the West, there's vote by mail in Oregon and Washington. In 2 presidential elections, we've seen them count literally thousands of ballots from people who have never shown a picture ID, not when they registered, not when the vote was actually cast. And in fact, the governorship of Washington 2 elections ago was stolen. Dino Rossi got the greatest number of votes, and the Democrats, as they like to do, decided to recount 3 different times until they got the votes for the Democrat. This is the Democrats' playbook. This is exactly what they want to do. And Eric, it's not just absentee ballots. It's going to get worse. They're going to push for vote by mail across the country. They'll say it's cheaper, that it enfranchises people. The fact is, the Democrat doesn't want to admit he wants a lot of those undocumented Democrats, what the rest of us call illegal.
You tell me where there's a legal case where there's an undocumented voter, and it's very, very marginal.
David, not your turn. Go ahead, Tony.
There's absolutely nothing controversial about a voter having to present an ID, as we have to do almost every day to enter this building. Eric, you and I both have to present our ID. So that's not the controversy. The controversy is exactly what the congressman said. You have illegal enrollments. You have groups like Acorn who go out there, register voters illegally. They were found to do this in 14 states. They are a corrupt organization. They got defunded as a result. Then local political bosses take those enrollments and manipulate the actual voting on them because of what was said by Lars, which is you have absentee voting, mail voting, and also early voting, where you can actually touch the paper, and that's what really causes problems.
I only have a few seconds, David.
The congressman never mentioned voter fraud. He mentioned political machines and practitioners. He never mentioned, so please, on that last comment, he did not tie what he was saying in Alabama to voter fraud.
Explain
he was
to me,
talking
David.
about
Explain to
practitioners
me
and democratic machines that may be doing something, but locally address that. Don't put an aspersion on 5 million voters.
David, I just want you to explain to me why someone should be able to vote without an ID. It makes absolutely no logical sense.
Because it's a
world.
Hold on. It's a fundamental right. It has happened before with no instances that are even negligible. And why are we doing it all of a sudden? We're doing it all of a sudden, Eric, because the president got 9 million more votes than the opposition, and they want to depress that vote.
Well, let's make
by
sure
5
that there are 9 million people who actually voted. How about we do that? We're going to have to leave it there.